Now to growing concerns about the deadly coronavirus.
Health authorities have activated their most serious response level
after an outbreak of a new type of viral pneumonia
in central China.
"2020 was a tough time for all of us. We dealt with a situation that was unprecedented on a global scale. We saw empires collapse because of the tides of nature and saw cities that never sleep fast asleep. But even after so much negativity, we saw people rise from their ashes up into the sky once again. We saw people helping other people despite having their own problems. We saw people adapt, improvise, and overcome. 2020 was an absolute roller coaster of a year, and it provided me with a lot of insightful opportunities. And I thought some of you all might want to hear what I have to share. Number 1, death gives life meaning. All of us know that we are going to die someday. But how many of us really comprehend that fact? There is a very large possibility that you might just die tomorrow. Now, I know that sounds grim, but that is not my intention. I feel like it's a beautiful thing. See, I was recently watching this TV series called as The Good Place. And what basically happens is that the protagonists land in heaven only to find out that the inhabitants are roaming around aimlessly. And that is because they are there for eternity. And every day just feels like the same all over again. And it got me thinking, maybe death is what gives life meaning. We know that we're going to get this chance only once in an eternity. And it is just for a limited period of time. So we have to make the most of it. And this makes me move on to the next point, which is kind of like an extension to this point. Life is a gift we often take for granted. With so much death around us this past year, if you're watching this, you're truly lucky to be alive. And I don't say this lightly. So whenever I feel emotional turmoil, I try to take 3 deep breaths. And that breath reminds me, you are alive. And that breath goes inside and passes out through you after enriching you, and then you have to take another breath. And I feel like life is just like that. The moment comes, it makes you feel things, and then it passes. So whenever I feel really down, I just tell myself, you know what? You're alive, and this too shall pass. Number 3, feel your feelings and you might feel better. We live in a world where intoxicants and numbing agents are readily available. If you're feeling a negative emotion, we have alcohol, cigarettes, weed, sex, and external validation to numb our feelings down. The problem with this, in my personal experience, is that if you don't pay attention to those feelings when they demand it, they kind of stockpile on top of each other and manifest in ugly ways somewhere else. So what I've learned is, feel your feelings and you might feel better. Sit with them, observe them with neutrality. Write about them in your journal, figure out what you're actually feeling, and take it out in healthy ways. If you're sad, cry it out. If you're angry, then punch the boxing bag. If you're frustrated, then shout into the pillow, and hopefully you might feel better. Number 4, importance of friendships and neighbors. This point is pretty self-explanatory, I guess, but if I have to give a little background, I live in Mumbai. And Mumbai is a city that never sleeps. You wake up at 5 in the morning, you get ready by 6 and catch that local train. You come home at 6 and just mind your own business. No one has time for friendships and neighbors, especially neighbors. But what I have seen in this lockdown is that all of us were forced to talk to each other because we had no one else. And it kind of blossomed this beautiful relationship that people in fast cities seem to have forgotten. Food was shared, stories were shared, and support was shared. Number 5, you're alone at the end of the day. Wow. You may have a great support system backing you. a significant other pushing you towards your capabilities, a family to lend their shoulders when you're concerned, and friends to listen to everything you have to say. But at the end of the day, when your head hits the pillow, you're alone. You cannot escape yourself. In general, you spend the most amount of time with yourself. No matter how hard you try, you can't outrun yourself. No matter how hard you try to socialize, there are going to be times when you feel extremely alone. And it's time that we try to accept that fact and try to get to terms with it. The best that we can do is try to feel really comfortable with being with ourselves. And it's easier said than done, especially in today's age, where people are just a text away, just a call away. It is tough, and I personally was terrified of being alone. And in a sense, I still am, and I'm working on it. But that is one of the greatest lessons, in my opinion, that I have learned in 2020. You are alone. And number 6, focus on the things that you can control. Now, there's a great philosophy that I discovered in 2020, and it's called Stoicism. And I am going to make videos at length on this topic. But to give a brief idea of whatever I have understood about it from my preliminary readings, is that there are 2 types of things that happen in the world. There are things that happen that you can control, and there are things that happen that you absolutely cannot control. And Stoicism tells us focus on the things that you truly can control. There is a concept called as the locus of control, and in a video that I recently saw, I learned that a lot of successful people have an internal locus of control, which means that they tend to focus on things that they can control and not worry about things that you can't control. And especially in times like these, when everything around you is so unpredictable, it's kind of okay to tell yourself that there are things that you can't control, and it's okay to feel whatever you feel about them. But at the end of the day, you need to focus on the things that you can control, because those are the things that you can manipulate to make yourself feel better.